Hello, everyone. This is Linda, and welcome to Icky Chic Designs. This video is going to be about a guideline walkthrough for the new kit that's going into my shop this coming week. And this is a landscape, slow stitch, for hand sewing, freestyle embroidery, raw edges. As you can see, it's all hand done. And so it's going to be a fun kit. It has the feel of autumn, and certainly we're all enjoying in the United States this time of the year, and the colors are changing, and it's just a beautiful time of year, and it's a relaxing time of year, and certainly a time we think about lap work or hand sewing and slow stitching. So let me tell you how this kit was put together and what will come in your kit. Basically, the elements, many of the elements you see in this will be in the kit, but there will also be quite a bit of additional fabric and fibers that will allow you to change up and design and be unique in your own the way you interpret this design. There will be a very basic design like this that shows you what I started with. It has the three main blocking areas of the three pieces of fabric I put in the background, and then it shows pretty much how I used it to contour about where I placed the house, and my main focal points were in this section here. And then I wrote a little different, but that's what a guideline is for. You don't have to do it exactly. For instance, I didn't incorporate this tree. I added more grasses and leafy looking things, and but it gives you a place to start. And composition for a lot of people is a problem, so this helps you lay out a composition. Now this is a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of copy paper, but my piece finished is more like an 8 by 10 size. So again, you can resize it. You could bring it all the way down to like a 5 by 7 if you wanted to, and it would still work out well for you to do that. But that will be in the kit to help you kind of get started on that, and a little bit on composition and sizing. Like I said, the background consists of 3 equal parts, okay? And on each of those parts, I laid a solid piece of fabric. The bottom was a solid piece of green. The center was this solid piece of tan here that was a printed fabric. To that, up in this area was a solid piece of this white with a little light blue pattern work through it. That it was kind of an off-white that I thought would work good for a sky element. Then this area through here where the heels lay behind the house, those follow the guideline drawing really well too. The house is placed basically in the same place. The big tree is basically in the same place. Instead of bringing my road out and curve it, I just made like a sidewalk and a straight line. It fit the more blocked look, I thought, of my house and everything. So you can do it any way you want to. And now filling in these areas on these basic background pieces, that's totally all in your design. You decide what you want to go there, how you want it to look. Like I said, your kit will come with enough fabrics and yarn choices that you will be able to change out. If you don't like this piece, you want it darker or lighter or a different color, you will have enough fabric in there to make an option choice. Inside this area here are lots of gauze. Now, I use a lot of gauzy fabric, and I use a lot of woven fabrics because they give texture and movement. You can see these little raw edges. They look like growth. Without me having to put it in by stitchery. Now you could do it that way, if you choose a more flat piece of fabric, you can put this growth and this movement in with stitching. And but I like to do it with the fibers, and there's a lot of color choices in these fibers that I'm going to send you. It's easy to pull them apart, to work with them, and stretch them and fray them and pull them apart and make them work wherever you want them to go. For instance, this piece right through here, it's a good piece, and it comes off of a piece of woven fabric that's like this. It frays really easy, it stretches really easy, and you can just tatter it up and then use the pieces where you want. It really lays out good. And so that's, you see, there's many of those. There's a piece of that goes through here, that quite a bit of it is covered up with others. There's a piece of that I ran down through here, and I left a lot of that showing and just added a few pieces above and below to blend that in. This section piece, I didn't do anything to it. It has some color changes in it. It also had kind of a tan look that I'm using, kind of like just a field or a meadow in the back that just doesn't have a lot of growth in it. And it gives me a nice break also to place this house and for my eyes to make the transition from this level to this level. Now, the house is just real basic, just a block, a triangle roof, window, door, real simple, real simple. You could construct a different kind of a house, a double-storied house or round roof house. You could construct it any way you want to. And you can switch sides with it. You can put it in the middle if you want to. But most of the time, you just don't want your focal point slap dab in the middle of your work. You want them off to the sides. And like in this case, they kind of balance each other out. And so that makes a better composition that way. The tree, I just piece of brown fabric for a trunk and just cut a tree shape. And then I just added some little elements on it. I was wanting to get a fall look out of this, and so I have this fabric, which this fabric here will be in your kit. And let me show you this fabric. It's really, I love it. And it also teaches a good lesson. This is this piece of batik, basically, and this is how it looks. And it has a lot of this beautiful color in it and the black. But I always tell people, when you're doing fiber art, slow stitching, and things like that, always consider both sides of your fabric, because so many of them, what you're looking for to use is on the opposite side than you think. For instance, this fabric, when you turn it over, it has this pattern on it. And so that gives me two sides with two different looks, and it really, really works. You can see that I chose to do that. I put the plainer side in the background, then I cut little elements and put that in, but worked it in because the tone is so compatible. But so many times, like using this is the front side, but the back side of this fabric, this pattern shows through, and it's a lot lighter. And so there are areas that if I were doing let's say a side building or a building in closer up, or a little doghouse or something, I would use the back side with the lighter shadings and markings on it, and it would blend and have the same markings, but it wouldn't appear to be the same fabric. And so always look at both sides of your fabric as workable fabric. You will find, and that's across the board, no matter what your kind of fabric you're working with. That automatically doubles your fabric choice. If, for instance, if you get 20 or 30 pieces of fabric in your kit and you're looking at both sides, you've just doubled that fabric choice. And so don't lose that. It really helps you when you're designing. This green part here, I put behind the tree like a particular growth. that I didn't extend that all the way over because I don't want everything so perfectly asymmetrical in here, and allows this here also to showcase the house roof. But allowing the tree to sit on this green fiber in the back, again, just sets the fall tone for me. Now, this piece is a piece of trim, and I love it because when you look at it one time, it looks like something like a field of something growing in the back of the house, and the next time it looks like water. So I guess it's however your eye perceives it. It looked like a river at one point, and then another point it looked like a field of something growing. So I thought that was kind of cool. It'll go two ways. To simulate again the fall look of fallen leaves and plants, turning colors and dying off. Our flowers do that in the fall. I use another set of fiber, woven fiber that'll be in your kit, and I pulled it and worked it out so that it gives me this fibery look, and it's variegated, so it has dark and lighter shades and different colors, and it works just perfect. Just like something, a bush dying, or trees and leaves collecting at the bottom of a tree, and things like that. And then we have this little bit of green left here. That's something that's still hanging on and still growing over there. Now the window, just put a brown square in the back. Then I put a piece of lace in there that appeared to be like a curtain on the inside, and then put my window pane things across that. So real simple too. The door is just a piece of quilted fabric that I have that I just cut a piece off, and there'll be enough of that there'll be some of that in your kit. That makes really a nice looking door. It has a little bit of thickness to it, so it gives a little bit of dimensional look when you sew it on there, and it has a different texture, and so it helps it to stand out. This is just a little piece of stuff I had laying around, a piece of trim, and so it kind of looked like an ornament or a flower pot or something that might sit next to the door. And I also used a piece of that for the doorknob on the door. This fabric here has its own look of like pebbles in it, like a walkway, and so I just left it very plain, left it as is, and it works there. But it could have been solid. It didn't have to have a pattern in it, and it would have been just as good to do that. I debated on whether to stitch in the green area, and I thought, no, I'm just going to leave that alone. I've got lots of texture and stitching in this. I don't need to just add stitching for the sake of stitching. And the green just sets the yard, the lawn. I don't know about yours, but we put ryegrass in our yard in the fall, and it just looks this green. And so that's kind of my inspiration for this green yard. And even though it's fall, my yard is very, very green at this point. And again, I used the fibers, pulled them apart to get them real wispy, and stitched them all down in there. The threads I used, it didn't, in a lot of cases, it's whatever I had. Sometimes I have leftover threads looped over my light. And sometimes when I get ready to do stuff like this, I just grab from those, no matter what color they are. And for instance, down in here, this is a light pink. But everything isn't perfect. And so whatever was growing in there and dying, it's different colors. Same thing in here. We just have a tan in here, some pink and white in here, some off-white up here, some yellows, some browns, some greens, some maroons, whatever color that you have. A lot of times, if you're like I'm dealing in a fall theme, well, fall has all these colors in it. So that works really well. Now, I didn't talk much about the sky. I didn't leave a whole bunch of sky. I just wanted a little bit because I wanted to be able to really work my fall colors in, and I needed to use a lot of this area. So I just put a small sky up in there, just simulated some different heel colors. I took 2 pieces of lace and cut them out and made clouds out of those. I stitched it with off-white, with ecru, with blue, with pink, and worked in some color in the cloud like that. I think you can see that. Let me bring it down a little for you. I think you can see that well, how that is worked in there. Give you a closer look at some of the stitching in those areas. Straight stitching. When I'm doing work like this, 95% of my stitches are straight stitches. Just working in the elements that I've chosen. I might do a blanket stitch like around the house here. This one's just straight stitching around here. You might find a cross stitch in a few areas. You might find French knot in a few areas, but nothing that would say, oh, this whole section is done this way or this whole section is done that way. I don't do it like that. I do just straight stitching. For one thing, that allows my kits to be done by the basic beginner stitcher, and those who are not beginners, who are very well versed in slow stitching, embroidery, and so forth, they have their own library of stitches they love to use, and they know how and when to incorporate them. So I don't have to tell people who are experienced in this, well, you need to put this stitch here, you need to put this stitch here. You don't want to do that. I like to design my own look, and I want people who buy my kits to be able to design their own look too. That's why I put extra stuff that isn't in mine in the kit, so that there are choices, because somebody might say, I hate this tree. I just don't like this fabric for the tree, but they got nothing else to work with. And so I always want to make sure there's other things that they can choose from. And so I think that you'll appreciate that. So anyway, that's how I laid this out and sewed it, and this will very easily frame out for an 8x10. For mine, it will probably come up a little bit and frame out on the bottom about here, on the sides pretty close to what they are. So when you your background fabric is going to be probably about a 9x11, something like that. So I used it just like it was, and then trimmed it off when I got through what I didn't want. And so you can decide that too, what overall size you want to use. Some people like it just smaller, like a 5x7, that just is easier for them to work with. And a lot of older people with arthritis in their hands don't want a big bulky piece of fabric, so they scale down these things, and that's perfectly okay. So anyway, I wanted to tell you how this is done. There's nothing difficult about it. In this type of thing that I design, it's always about layering. Like I said, it starts with 3 basic pieces of fabric, and then I start layering stuff on it. And when I say stuff, I mean stuff. I pull a little piece of fabric here, I pull some fibers here, I pull another thing here and another thing here. And I just keep working and layering stuff that looks like what I want it to look like. Now, of course, there will be quite a bit of the fall coloring in the kit, because that is the overall theme of this particular landscape, is using the fall colors. But you will have different choices. So depending on how you put them and where you put them. For instance, if you'd used this in this area up here and pull this down here, it would be a totally different look, just switching these 2 fabrics out. And it wouldn't have been anything wrong with it. That it had been beautiful done either way. And so, but you make the choices. You do not have to follow the colors and the layout exactly like mine. And it's better that you don't try to do that, because unless you are just wonderfully talented, you can't absolutely copy every little thing that I've done. You'll be disappointed because yours won't come out looking exactly like mine. So use your own talent, use your own love of certain textures, certain colors, and change it up to be the piece that you want it to be, using the basics that I've taught about here. Okay, I hope that really inspires you and gets you on the right track, and you'll enjoy this kit as much as I enjoyed putting it together. And this will be available this coming week in my Etsy shop. So get them while they last, because as you know, I do not make unlimited amounts of my kits. Whatever, I make my kits up until the supplies run out. And sometimes I will change out a few things so that I can stretch that kit further. And that's okay too, because you have enough of the basics to make it go in the theme that it was designed for. But just work with that, challenge yourself, and design, and have fun doing it. Thank you so much. This is Linda at Icky Chic Designs.